The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, welcome to another edition of our program, CHW in Action. As always, CHW stands for Community Health Worker in Action because I am Rafael Calderon. I am a community health worker at CHW, and I'm always in action to bring you, the community of Nashua, and anyone that watches this TV show. I want to bring you information on how to live a healthy lifestyle. And as always, I like to point out that to me, a healthy lifestyle is about living a holistic lifestyle, from a holistic approach. You want to have a full, balanced, happy life so that you can have a healthy life. So with that, because I'm always trying to learn more, I'm always inviting people that know more than I do about different aspects of living a healthy lifestyle. Today we will talk about prostate cancer. I have the honor of having the director of the New Hampshire Prostate Cancer Coalition, I hope I said it right, Dick, with us, and he will tell us more about it. So let us welcome our guest. Dick, how are you?
I'm very good. I'm very excited to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for coming. I'm glad you're here because I want to learn as much as I can about prostate cancer, and I want the community to learn also. But first, please tell us who you are, your full name, your title, what you do.
Well, many people know me as a professional volunteer, even though I've had a job with the federal government for many, many years, and I worked with a staff delivering grant funds throughout New England, so that was an exciting part of my life. But I've also balanced that off with a lot of community activism and a variety of programs. And a close friend of mine did recruit me to become involved with the New Hampshire Prostate Cancer Coalition. While I personally don't have prostate cancer, or I should say not have it yet, because it's a disease that is widespread in the male population, but in recruiting me into the organization, he wanted me to bring my energy and my vision for the kinds of things the organization could do to raise awareness about this disease and to become stronger advocates on behalf of those who are battling this disease. And for those who don't yet have it, which is a big part of what we're trying to do, is just raise awareness. One of the things that people don't seem to understand is the probabilities of this disease. How many people will come down with this disease? And to use an example, if you took the state's current population, there will, in their lifetimes, from male children all the way up to the current population of adults, there will be about 125,000 males that will come down with prostate cancer in their lifetime.
That's a big number.
It is a big number. And out of that number, about 22 to 24,000 will die from the disease, which is another big number. It's big for a lot of reasons, but it's people don't know about prostate cancer and they don't talk about it. And,
right.
And I can address that in a moment. But show you in comparison, prostate cancer impacts as many men as breast cancer impacts women in the women's population.
I did not know that.
And just as many men will die from prostate cancer as women presently suffer and die from breast cancer. Yet you would not know from the efforts to raise awareness about breast cancer that there is a similar level of impact and tragic consequences in another disease called prostate cancer.
Now, what do you think that is?
Well, it's for a very obvious reason. Men are extremely stoic. It's a cultural thing. It's a male thing. Men who come down with disease are more often than not likely to want to talk about it to their family members and even to their coworkers. They tend to internalize their struggle with this disease. It's between them and their doctor and their wife or their spouse or their closest relative, so that the rest of the community doesn't know about their struggle. And that is unfortunate, because one of the most important things that anyone can do who battles any kind of disease is to help raise awareness and break down the stereotypes about certain diseases. And one of the things that is a problem with prostate cancer is too many men think that, oh, if I get prostate cancer, I'm going to die of something else because it's an old man's disease. Not true. Men in their 30s have come down with prostate cancer.
In their 30s?
In their 30s.
How is that possible? I thought you got it when you got older.
No, not even close to that. It's a cancer, and cancer is nothing more in its essence than aggressive growing cells that overwhelm the immune system and destroy organs. And cancer, prostate cancer, will reach a point where it will metastasize and become a cancer in other parts of the body, and eventually people will suffer from that and die. A member of our board, a little over a year ago, battled this disease for 17 years. And when he died of other cancers that were as a result of his having prostate cancer.
Wow. Okay.
And the thing that's also important to remember here is that men of color have a higher risk of this disease and a higher risk of inheriting this disease in their family. For example, 1 in 6 men, on average, will come down with this disease in their lifetime, and 1 of 5 of those 1 in 6 will end up dying from the disease. But in men of color population, we're looking at 1 in 3 is the risk factor of coming down with this disease. And if it occurs in the family, then it's 100% that all other male members of that family will likely have the disease in their lifetime.
And that is why when we have a mutual friend, Harvey Kai.
Yes.
I have to call him the Honorable Harvey Kai because he's a special guy.
He is indeed.
Yeah, no, I love him. And he's the one that got me into the New Hampshire Prostate Cancer Coalition because of the need to bring awareness about this.
Yes.
And he told me it's not just about the person that has prostate cancer, it's about the family, it's about the descendants.
Absolutely. And here's the point about the family that I think is interesting. When I was a young kid and we had relatives with illnesses, no one told us what the nature of the disease was.
Right.
If there was somebody battling Alzheimer's, the implication you heard from your family members was, well, your Uncle Harry's a little upstairs, he's a little loose upstairs, or your aunt's a little, wacky at times. Nobody wanted to put the correct name on it, and nobody really understood the probabilities of inheriting the disease. Nobody thought about those kinds of things. In many ways, science didn't even know about that. Or if people were battling heart disease and people would die from heart disease, they had no idea that one uncle dies, a grandmother dies. They didn't realize that they themselves now were at greater risk and should be taking steps to adjust their lifestyle and their habits to minimize those risks for themselves. But not only that, their children and their children to follow had greater risks. And we really have an affirmative obligation as human beings, as members of families and members of a society, to let someone else know who has risk. To me, I think one of the greatest tragedies of the struggle with raising awareness about prostate cancer is if men don't want to talk about it, they oftentimes don't even tell their children or their brothers.
Right.
And that's that's very sad because they need to know. And why do they need to know? First of all, they need to inform their doctors. Their doctors will make sure that they get it tested and get a baseline of information in the two obvious tests that are typically done for prostate cancer. But with that baseline of information, the critical factor is the next time they get a test, is there been any change?
Okay.
Because the change is the first red flag that there is a cancerous situation going on, and it needs to be investigated further with more medical analysis.
I agree.
And so without being aware that there is an inherited problem in the family, you never get the baseline of information. And tragically, too many men find out they have the disease much later when the disease has progressed to the point where more drastic steps have to be taken medically to address the condition.
And not only do they have now a shorter lifespan, it's the way that it affects the families.
Correct.
And before, I was going to ask you, how do we bring forth awareness, right? And remember, one of my questions is going to be about the neckties campaign.
Sure.
I have a friend who works in the school system, and I asked her to collect neckties from me, for people that had the disease or that have it, for
Sure.
families that are affected. She gave me the name. It's Tammy Conroy. She had a loved one who passed away on thymic cancer. I wanted to read it, make sure that I get it right.
Sure.
And I just wanted to bring out the point to you that I'm trying to bring awareness since I got involved by reaching out to the people that I know,
Right.
and asking them to reach out to people that they know and sort of create some kind of a word of mouth type of thing.
Yeah.
But how does that coalition, how do you bring forth awareness?
Well, you bring forth awareness a lot of ways. You have been doing it within your family, within the people you know in the community, and that kind of effort to inform and make people more aware and hopefully get them to take on a more of a aggressive posture with their own physicians and with their own family members is an awesome thing. But as an organization, we have to reach out to people we don't know. And the ways we do that is with shows like this. This is a brilliant tool for us to get the word out to people in the greater Nashua area about this matter. And there are other things that can be done. We're, as an organization, as you know, we're sponsoring some activities and events in the Manchester, but really because it's a community that draws people from a wide area, we're reaching an audience of attendees at events that we're sponsoring that will allow us to be able to help raise their awareness. And my most important challenge is to not just speak to men and raise their awareness, because it's a partnership. Cancer affects the whole family.
It does.
And what I need to do, and what all of us need to do, is to make sure we elicit and recruit women to be part of this cause. Just as men should be supportive of the breast cancer battles or ovarian cancer challenges and fundraising and raising awareness, and we care for our loved ones, we should care also enough about ourselves and our female partners, our mothers, our sisters, our aunts, our daughters and everything else. I would like to see them just as enthusiastically involved with getting the men to open up about this disease. Get tested, talk about it, make sure the family knows about it, make sure the family members are plugged into the fact that now there's a higher risk factor in that particular family. I was talking with a gentleman 2 months ago while I was in the course of negotiating to lease another vehicle. And when I talked with this young man, he was telling me his father had prostate cancer. And I spoke to him about this at length. And he explained to me that he had 7 sisters and 7 or 6 brothers. No, 7 brothers, or 14 or 15 in the family. And I said, do you know that it's at greater risk for those young men in the family? And it shocked him to learn that. But he needed to know that. Not only that, I pointed out to him that his sisters need to know because their children, male children, are equally at risk as is he and his brothers.
Very important.
Because the father had prostate cancer. And it was an eye-opening experience for this man. And if I can only reach one family with that news, I'm not trying to make people sad and scared and fearful, because they shouldn't be. Prostate cancer is a treatable cancer if it's caught early. All cancers are, but especially in the case of prostate cancer. Now, I mentioned earlier in our discussion this evening about our fellow board member who had this disease. He had the disease for 17 years. He got treated early with an aggressive technique, which is called seeds. These are little radium seeds that are placed into the diseased organ. And it kept his cancer under control for almost 17 and a half years.
Wow.
If he had not went for testing, if he had not found out early on that he had this cancer and discovered it much later, because you don't get symptoms, it's not like a heart attack.
Right.
Okay? If he had discovered it much later, like 2 or 3 years later, chances are he would have only lived a few months to a year.
So that's
Because the disease would have progressed to the point where the treatment choices have narrowed and they're not as effective.
so that's the power of communication of awareness. is
Absolutely.
You buy time.
Absolutely. You buy time,
Yeah.
you improve the quality of life. This man, for those 17 years, was a competitive downhill ski racer. He had a boat and he would take it out in the ocean and do fishing at every chance he had. He went on high adventure hikes all over the world. And you can't have that quality of life if you've got a crippling condition. So he was fighting it the right way by finding it early, being aggressive with the treatment options that were presented to him. And he had 17 wonderful, beautiful years. He had no regrets with his life.
I'm glad you shared this with us because it ties into bringing the women along. Because I teach diabetes self-management classes.
Right.
A lot of times I have couples that come in.
Yep.
And the women seem to pay more attention than the men who have it as to how to treat it, how to eat properly, how to live a
Sure.
healthy lifestyle.
Sure.
So women, they seem to listen more. I don't know if it's something a guy thing, but
Yeah, it is. But you have to understand this disease attacks the virility of men. It makes them nervous about their ability to be intimate. It makes them nervous about their ability to just have their bodily functions being normal anymore. They think they're going to be hooked up to all kinds of tubes and everything else. It couldn't be further from the truth, except for one factor. If you wait, and you wait too long, it might, all of those things you fear might actually come true. But if you attack it early and you go after it aggressively, and you take a positive outlook, the healthcare system is evolved to the point where there's so many different things they can do to help you today. The quality of your life will be just as it was, and you will have the strength and energy to carry out your life and have more years to your life than you would have by ignoring this disease or pretending you're never going to have it.
so early detection is the key to live a healthier, longer lifestyle,
Absolutely.
even if you have the disease.
Yes.
Now, you know all this, you're a wealth of information. How do we share this with the community, with other people? I know one way is to do these activities. Like,
Sure.
Let's talk about the Palace Theater.
Yeah, well, here's what we're doing. As you well know, we've sponsored a series of concerts at the Palace Theater, and we're in the literature of the Palace Theater playbills and things like that, and their mass social media resources that they have at their disposal. So we're raising awareness through those tools that they have that we don't have at our disposal, and this is a great partnership we have with them.
Thank you, and sorry to interrupt you, but because the Palace Theater is in Manchester, just so that the audience knows.
Yes, it's in
where it is.
Manchester.
Okay.
It's a wonderful historical theater, and it's an absolute gem.
Okay.
And where, in addition, we actually began our partnership with the Palace Theater by having using it as a site to host a fundraising show. And this coming year, 2017, our third annual fundraising show is going to take place at the Palace Theater on Friday evening, May 26th. And it's going to be a great night. We're going to have an opening act of comedy for about 30 minutes or so, then an intermission, and then we'll have a great rock and roll entertainment package put together that folks will enjoy. And they can certainly, if they're interested, support us, support our work in helping to raise awareness and all the other things we do to invest in prostate cancer research and everything else that we are into. they can help us by coming to that show. And coming to that show, by buying a ticket for that show, 100% of the tickets proceeds will come back to this organization and support our work. We've been doing all the things we do as an organization with a budget of around $30,000, and to serve a statewide challenge like this with that small amount of money, it is almost beyond belief. But we make it work, and we're trying to grow the resources to do even more, to reach out to even more folks and provide more support. And this fundraising show is part of that tool. So come see the show, and if people come to the show, the thing that I like about it is it's a couple of weeks before Father's Day. So instead of coming up with yet one more small gift for dad or their uncle or their brother or their husband or whatever, come take them to a show. Support a cause that supports them. That's what we want them to do. Now, in conjunction with that, we've got another campaign going on, which is our necktie campaign. And why do we want to do a necktie campaign? I can explain very simply.
Before you explain,
Sure.
I'm sorry to cut you off again, is because you gave me so much good information here. But if someone wanted to support, help, contact you, what would be the best way?
The best way to do that would be to email me. That would be a start if they want to contact me directly. My email address is rlhatin@comcast.net. Another way is they can reach out to us through our website. The website of the organization is pccnh.org.
Excellent.
Okay, they can also reach out to you, Raphael, if
Yes.
in the greater Nashua area. You're an outstanding representative of this community, and it would be nice for them to reach out to you. So those are some ways that they can connect with us. If they inquire with their oncologist or anybody in the healthcare community, they also know how to reach out to us and connect with us, and we can make those arrangements to connect with folks.
Beautiful.
If they're looking for guest speakers, we're available, okay? And we would be more than willing to spend the time it takes to help raise awareness with organizations of any sort, whether it's Rotary or women's organizations or chambers of commerce, whomever wants to take the time to listen to this story, we would welcome that opportunity.
Beautiful, thank you. Now tell us let's go back to the neckties.
Well, here's what we're trying to do. Neckties is a symbol. Men wear neckties. If we can get neckties donated to us from families who have lost someone already to prostate cancer, that necktie would be a symbol of that loss. And we would want them to give us the name, the address, and some other contact information, mailing address, email, and so forth, so we could reach out to them and let them know when we're going to be using the neckties. Because what we're going to do is we're going to put the person's name and the community on the necktie. And we're going to have these neckties put on display at different places and events around the state as a symbol of that family's loss. And we would want to invite them to come and see the necktie and become part of a community of prostate cancer victims and survivors. In addition, those who are currently diagnosed with prostate cancer and are in treatment or are in remission, we'd like a necktie from them as well, because they are part of that community. And those neckties represent not only the men who have either died or are currently suffering from this disease and are receiving treatment, but it represents their family. So for every necktie we get, it's not just representing one person, it's representing many people.
Very nice. I love your passion when you talk about this stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I care about this because I've lost people to prostate cancer. And I get frustrated to lose loved ones and friends and family members to any disease when there's been a chance to avoid that from happening. And this is a disease where there is opportunity. And I don't think it would be something I could live with if I did not step up and begin to use whatever resources and tools and talents I have to try to make a difference in our community for those who are going to be impacted by this disease. Because we can do so much good. This is a great opportunity to change lives, save lives, and better lives. And that affects not just the men, as I've said already, but it in fact affects their entire family.
It does. I want to do all that I can to help promote this, to bring forth awareness.
Thank you.
So I'm happy to help. Tell me any ways in which I can be helpful.
Well, we'll be counting on you for a lot of things. We already roped you into being our treasurer. We've got other things planned for the board. And as soon as more resources come in and more people who are interested in helping us maybe step up and ask if they could be on our board or maybe serve on our committees, once we have the bench strength that we need, there's so many more mountains for us to climb. And this, New Hampshire is a mountainous state, as you know.
Yes, it is.
And every mountain is a challenge.
A challenge that can be
achieved. Absolutely. Yep. And I think the people in New Hampshire, from my many years of working in New Hampshire and volunteering in New Hampshire, are the greatest people in America.
I agree.
Because we've got more volunteerism and more passion and compassion as a people. And I can't put my finger on why that is, but I think it's an incredible resource. And it brings talent and motivation and skill to a problem, and there isn't anything we can't solve when we put our minds to it.
I agree with you 100%.
Thank you.
So we're coming to the end of the program.
Sure.
So is there any topic that we haven't covered, any message that you want to send out there that we haven't talked about?
Well, let me just repeat one important message. This isn't just a conversation about men suffering from a disease and what could be done. It's a message for the entire family. We would like the entire family to be involved, and we want men to overcome their reluctance to talk about this disease or overcome their reluctance to be tested. You know, it may be something they personally don't want to deal with, but at the end of the day, what a man does affects his family. What he doesn't do also affects his family. Do not deny your family the chance of your being around longer and having more energy and more time and more things that you can do with your family. Don't take that away from them. Get them involved in what's going on in your health care, and more importantly, help your children and your children's children to follow, have an equal opportunity at better health care and a longer, more prosperous life.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being
My pleasure. Thank you for having me tonight.
A pleasure. And thank you for watching us. Thank you for spending some time with us. As you can see, this man is a wealth of information about prostate cancer. I'm learning about it because I want to bring awareness to the community, my lovely community of Nashua and the whole state of New Hampshire. I agree with Dick. There's something about New Hampshire people that we come together and we do things and we volunteer with passion and we make things happen. This TV show is all about conveying the message to people that we want to live healthy lifestyles. It's always healthier to have people around you. We live healthy lifestyles when we have good people around us. So let us come together. Let us pay attention to these important issues. If you need to contact Dick, you have his email information. You have my information after the show is over. So you can always contact me. Let me know. I'll be happy to put you in contact with him. We'll be happy to give you more information about anything that you need to know about this topic of prostate cancer, awareness of prostate cancer. So thank you for your time. We appreciate it. God bless you. Good night.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.